Okay, I'm making this live video as a live. I don't believe in editing what I say too much. I'm making this video because I've been praying a great deal about some things that have been going on with me. Maybe a little shaking in my faith and wondering where certain things are coming from. So, if anyone knows me, they've seen that I put up some um, prediction videos or prophecy videos. Um, So I want to explain my journey a bit so that people may understand and see how I've come to the conclusion on my own to tell people some of the things that I see or that happen. Okay, I'm gonna, it's kind of hard to start because without like telling a whole life story. I'm going to start when I was 8 years old when I was hit by a car on November 1st, 1963. Um, I got hit. I flew through the air a couple hundred feet and then got run over by the same car and dragged. And was laying in the road about a block, short white block where I got hit originally. And I had an out of body experience. The first thing that happened to me was kind of like when the car hit me the second time in the head, everything went black. Um, then I remember running and thinking, gee, you almost get by a car, but it was a kind of a floating, running feeling, like in the movie Ghost, like when he gets shot and he's running after the guy. If anyone's ever seen that Patrick Swayze movie, because that struck me because that's kind of what happened to me. I was trying to grab this mailbox on the corner. Back in those days, they had the big mailboxes, metal mailboxes on the corner. I couldn't grab it, and as I did get to it, something was pulling on me, and a realization came to me that I was dead. I was only 8 years old. I knew nothing about death or out of body experiences. From there, I'm pulled somewhere, and I call it nowhere, somewhere. It's vague. I was only an 8-year old child. But there was like a lot of people or beings there, one larger one in the center. And although it felt like they were all talking, the voice from the center was the one that I was kind hearing, but not audibly hearing because I was out of body. So, sort of, somewhat like a dream, I guess, although feeling very realistic. What happened then was, as I realized I was dead, I started crying that, no, no, I don't want to die. I promise I'll be good. Because I had a tough kind of growing up, and my parents kind of told me, I was always like a bad kid, but I don't think I really was a bad kid, but I think I thought, that way or whatever. And so I was promising I'd be good. And they were, I can't remember exactly because I was not listening to them. Like oh, it's going to be okay kind of thing. But I'm like, no, no, no. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I promise I'll be good. And I just kept repeating that over and over again to them. So finally they said, it's going to be really hard. And I said, I don't care. I promise I'll be good. So for those who know me anyway, from there, I kind of woke up in the road with a doctor kind of doing CPR over me and a ton of people around me yelling, asking the doctor, am I dead? And when I woke up and I just simply said, I'm not dead. And I couldn't get up. I tried, and they were like, don't move. My head, which you can't see the scars anymore, my forehead was ripped off over here, all whole side. Um, the back of my head was bleeding. I didn't even know. What I couldn't breathe. I was bleeding out, and my so it's like if anybody's ever been in that position, and um, my stomach hurt really bad, and I put my hand down by my stomach, and it was like I was almost ripped in half. So the scar from I'll stand up for a second. I'm not going to show you my scar, but it's like from down here. It's from here all the way to here, and about that wide. It starts, and then they had to graft skin to put it back together. So I'm sure my insides are like hanging out, but I didn't really know that. I was kind of in shock. The ambulance came in and out of consciousness and woke up about a week later in the hospital. A few times I woke up in between. It was really dark, and it was daytime maybe, and it seemed like it was night. But I don't know if they kept me knocked out or whatever. I was never told. I had lacerated my liver, didn't break any bones that they told me of, and I lost my spleen. Outside of I healed miraculously, like the skin was off all my thighs. Um, I don't even have any scars there. I do have the scar where I was like ripped in half, and the exploratory surgery scar. All the other scars are kind of gone. My forehead looked like a burn victim all the way into my teens, like that reddish burn mark kind of, whatever. Anyway, I made a kind of a miraculous healing. In fact, the surgeon doctor who operated on me that I used to have to go to see for a year or so, my recovery, um, used to stare at me in amazement every time he saw me and say, "You're a very lucky boy." Like, he couldn't believe that I was alive and walking and talking. I became very athletic um, after that, after I healed. So, like in gym class or whatever, I was always one of the fastest, if not the fastest kid in the class, could do the most pull ups or next to the most pull ups or climb the ropes and play sports. Um, I don't know, I was very, very, I healed well. And I don't know how that, I was good at sports, although I didn't play much because I didn't have the greatest life where in school. Um, anyway, I want to skip by all of that. That's what happened to me in my NDE and me recovering. In my teenage years, I started to get little premonitions, visions of things that would happen. The first one I remember is my grandfather. I was sleeping. I was like 15 years old. It was my father, my stepdad's father, actually. So he was my step grandfather. I was sleeping and I jumped up in the middle of the night and I yelled out, "Grandpa's dead." And I thought to myself, that's stupid because he's not even sick, but he was like he was 90s, in his 90s. And but a couple of days later, he went in the hospital. He said, "Oh, for some tests." Then all of a sudden he died. I was like, wow. I didn't, really pay much attention outside of I thought it was just a coincidence kind of a thing. Um, but throughout my teenage years, things would happen. Little premonition. Sometimes things that were going to happen in an hour ahead of time, I would see. Like I would see me riding down the street and who I'm going to run into, and then bang, that would happen exactly like that. But I never put much thought into it, and I never tried to do it or whatever. It just would happen sometimes. That's all. I just thought like deja vu's happen to people. I could, a couple of times, I could kind of find people that were missing. Um, and as I got older, there was this other thing with street lights and always knowing what time it was. I don't know what that is. And as I was after the car accident, actually, my mother, we never went to church, so she started us going to. We were Catholic to a Catholic church. I was baptized a Catholic, but we weren't participating in church. And I made my Holy Communion, my confirmation, and then I stopped going to church. But I used to stop in church, even when I was younger. After my communion, it was only I was in the city; it was a block away. I used to stop in and pray all the time, and I used to say my prayers every single night, and I prayed for everyone in my family. A little tough life. I know what it's like to be hungry, not have food. I know what it's like to be abused a bit. Um, and so, anyway, after my teenage years, I got married and had babies. I have 4 children, they're beautiful, and I have 8 grandchildren right now. Um, I, but this happened to me in the 1991 or 92 in the wintertime. I can't remember exactly. I used to do a lot of sales work on the road. Um, I was in a business. I was doing fairly well. I was doing Christmas lighting business, and I kind of did it for God. Like I tried to, keep Jesus in the Christmas decorations because everyone kind of wanted generic, like Xmas. I would never sell an Xmas sign. You don't have to say Merry Christmas. I would sell some season greeting signs, but the things that go across the street. I did cities and towns is what I decorated, shopping centers and things like that. I was doing fairly well. But in the early 90s, some things started happening. So anyway, also kind of related to the story, how things happen. I listened to the radio. This is like, kind of, I think maybe cell phones were just brand new. And, but I used it for work, but not to chat on. And it was where you had a box in the trunk and the headset in the car. Anyway, I used to listen to radio, and I was talk radio I was listening to, and they were talking about these. A guy in Marlboro, New Jersey, was having apparitions of the Virgin Mary that she was appearing to him. And so I heard it one day. I was going down the Garden State Parkway. Then another day, I was riding up Route 9. I was in Marlboro when I stopped into a gas station, and I put, I turned the car off to get, and they pump your gas in New Jersey. You can't pump your own gas, and put the car on. Left the radio running, but turned the car off, and sure enough, there was that they were talking about this fellow and the thousands of people who go to see this apparition of the Virgin Mary appearing. So I thought, hey, I'm in Marlboro, New Jersey, so I'm like at the window, the gas station attendant's there, and I say, hey, do you know where this house is where the guy's seeing the Virgin Mary? And lo and behold, I'm about 2 miles away from the house, and he knows exactly the house and directions. It's only like 2 turns, and from where I am off of Route 9. And so I go, what the heck? I'll go down there and I'll look. It's the winter time. It's kind of snowy. So I go down and get out of the car and park by the house. And I walk in by the driveway and I see these statues in the backyard, like, and some benches and stuff. And I kind of walk back there, and there's an older man sitting on a bench. He's cold out, and I'm talking to him a little bit, asking him, "Is this real about the Virgin Mary appearing here?" And he says, "No, it's real." So I used to be an avid photographer with 35 millimeter. I did some weddings for friends and stuff like that. I have a really good eye for layout. And at any rate, I thought, you know what? I'm going to pull my old 35 millimeter out of the closet and come back here and take some pictures. Maybe I'll catch something miraculous. So I did just that. About a week or so later, I came back there with my 35 millimeter lens and 400 ASA film. And I was a cold, there was a little snow on the ground. And I started taking pictures of the statue. He had a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, St. Michael the Archangel, St. Joseph, Jesus on the crucifix, St. Padre Pio. And I'm trying to think if there was any other statues. I think that was it. Um, And at any rate, I took a bunch of pictures. And when I got them developed, I didn't see anything miraculous in the photos, but I saw they were all had a very golden tint to them. And for the time of day I was there, it really shouldn't have been golden. Should have been natural colored. But at any rate, I didn't put much stock into that. So I went back there again a third time, and I saw another man sitting there. And I started speaking to him. Is this real? What's going on here about the Virgin Mary and stuff? And he says, yeah, it's real. He says the first Sunday at every month, every first Sunday of every month at 9:25, the Virgin Mary appears here to this guy Joe, and that's what he told me. The first Sunday of every month. Now, if anybody knows me, I'm like, I can't remember. I have to write appointments down. I'm late everywhere I go. And in the meantime, the city was getting angry of Marlboro, New Jersey. They were stopping people from parking on the street there. So people were parking 2 miles away in a shopping center. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting at home and I realized that it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, hey, today's the first Sunday of the month. Maybe I'll ride up to Marlboro and see if these apparitions are real. So, lo and behold, I go up there. I park in the parking lot of the shopping center and I walk the 2 miles to this guy Joe's house. And everyone's praying the rosary on the way there. I didn't even know how to really pray the rosary at that time. I knew it had Our Fathers and Hail Marys in it, but I didn't remember the Apostles' Creed and, the Hail Holy Queen, the exact format. I hadn't gone to church since I was a teenager. Um, but I did pray and I did believe in God always. And so I went there. And everybody was up in the front around the statue. It's a pretty big yard, about a size of, not a football field, but maybe half a football field size. And so I was standing kind of in the back where I had a little bit space between me and people. And at 9:25, camera flashes going off up there by the statue, but I can't really see anything. And lighting up there all around there because camera flashes are going off everywhere. So everything's lighting up, but I don't really see anything. But I'm kind of intrigued, and it's a very beautiful thing to see, 1,000 people or 500 people, I didn't count them, praying the rosary. It's just a very beautiful, peaceful setting to be in. And so I left there and I went back to the shopping center. Oh, I left out the most important part. On my way there, I said a little prayer to God, and I said, God, if this is real, have somebody give me a set of rosary beads. I didn't have a set of rosary beads, which is true. Not that I'm bragging, but I did not. I do now. I have them with me all the time. So I go back to the shopping center and I meet 4 or 5 people, and I'm talking to them. This one guy is, I meet is Joe. He collects miraculous photos. So I'm talking to him, and then there's 2 or 3 other, a woman and a couple of other guys. And I'm talking to him. All of a sudden, the guy across from me says, Tony, you dropped your rosary beads. And right down between my legs is a pair of rosary beads. So me, Mr. Honest John, I'm like, they're not mine. And the guy next to me scooped them up, and he took them, and he was looking at them. And they were just, like a crystal, clear crystal rosary beads. And I thought, wow, that's odd. Like, did God give me, did the Virgin Mary, did they put those there? I mean, they weren't near. I would have saw them when I walked over and stood there. How did they get between my legs? Did somebody toss them? So I didn't know. So, but I didn't get the rosary beads. So in the meantime, I had a 2-year-old son who was having grand mal seizures. So every first Sunday of the month at 9:25, I would be there at the apparitions. Something was drawing me there. And, to this day, I can't explain what that was. The other odd thing was I noticed that I was getting there the exact same time every first Sunday of the month. So I decided to go different routes to see if I would be there at the same time. Sure enough, I was there after walking the 2 mile, even tried to walk a different way. And I was still getting there at the exact same time, which puzzled me because I'm never on time for anything. I also started getting a real desire to learn about Carmelite spirituality in the Catholic faith and the brown scapular. Trying to find mine. I've been wearing them pretty much ever since. So I got some books on brown scapular, and I bought a couple statues, and I bought a couple of books on Carmel. I bought a book on Saint Therese, the Little Flower. And I was going to this religious store, and a woman was an ex-nun. So this ex-nun, name was, I'm having a senior moment. Anyway, she left when Vatican II became active, when they changed the Mass in the Catholic Church. She left the order of being a nun. But she was still single. She wasn't never married, and she had this religious store, very religious woman. And I was talking to her a little bit about what was going on in Marlborough because I didn't understand what was going on with me. I mean, yeah, find me in a religious store and buying books on religion and reading them, and but I wasn't going back to church yet. But I knew in the Catholic faith, like, to go to church and receive communion, you really, have to go to confession and stuff like that. So I didn't know who to ask, and I thought, well, I got to talk to a priest and see what's going on with me. Maybe I can get an answer. So I asked the lady that owned the religious store, did she know a priest I could speak to, about what's going on with me, because I'm very confused. I'm not understanding what's going on with me. And so she says, yeah, Father Valente down in Seaside. He has a little made videos, religious videos and stuff, speaking. And back then was VHS videos he was making at a little studio. So I go down there and I knock on the door, like, can I talk to Father Valente? Can I talk to you? And I tell him what I want to talk to him about. And he's reluctant to kind of give me an answer. I'm asking him, most obvious question is the apparitions, did you hear about them in Marlborough, and are they real? Because something's going on with me and I can't understand it. And he says to me, he does the same thing. He pulls out his brown scapular that I just did to you, and he shows me his brown scapular, and he says, I can't really say, I'm not allowed to, but, like, yeah, he's telling me, yeah, but he can't really say it. In other words, he's not allowed to say it because of the rules of the Catholic Church. So, little backstory. When a person says the Virgin Mary is appearing to them in an apparition form, and they go to their church, their pastor, their priest, and they say, the Virgin Mary is appearing to me, and this is what's going on, and they assign a spiritual director to you. And so each priest also, and nun, they have spiritual directors also. So Joe, who was having the apparitions in Marlborough, he has a spiritual director called Father Rooney. But just right at that time, because it was going on almost a year before I went there, or probably maybe about a year before I went to one of the apparitions. And Father Rooney had just passed away. So I couldn't ask Father Rooney, in other words. But Father Rooney had a spiritual director. And you'll never guess who his spiritual director was. His spiritual director was Father Valente. So of any priest that I could have talked to about the apparitions in Marlborough and asked them if they were real or fake, because Father Rooney was passed away, Joe's spiritual director was Father Valente. I'm sure the church assigned a new spiritual director to Joe, but I didn't know. So then I continued to go, and I had a desire to go back to church. So as I was with Father Valente, I did confession with him for the first time since I was like 14 years old. And I'm in my 40s then, back in the 90s, maybe my late 30s, about 40. And I was probably 35. Wait, oh my God, I can't do math. Because my math is kind of easy. It's 2045. So 40 and 95. So it's about 36, 37. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. First time since then. So then we have a parish around the corner from, well, a couple miles away from my house. And it's St. Justin's in Toms River, New Jersey. I don't live there anymore. So I go to Mass there. And the second Sunday I go there, it's in the bulletin. They're starting a lay Carmelite order there. So for those who are not Catholic, being a lay Carmelite is kind of like third order. It's kind of like a nun with a promise instead of a vow, and you're a lay person. So you commit to some prayers and to lead the spirituality of a Carmelite, which has the role models of Elijah and the Blessed Virgin Mary. So Elijah for action and the Blessed Virgin Mary for faith and obedience. And so prayerful. So it's prayer and action, Carmelite spirituality. So you've heard of Franciscan priests and nuns or Capuchins. I can't even talk today. So that's, I said, wow. So I was so new at going to Mass. I didn't even know the Mass. I had never even been to a Vatican II Mass. I mean, when I went to Mass back in the 60s, when I made my confirmation, it was the Latin Mass. So this is like all different. But, I remember my prayers. So anyway, the first meeting, I don't go to it. But I was friends with a lot of people that I met up at Marlborough at the apparitions. And I called this one lady from Colts Neck and I told her, and she said, we're starting a Carmelite community up here. She said, come to our meeting. It's like, tomorrow or whatever. So I went to their meeting. So I went to a formation meeting, they call them. You have to do 6 months formation. Yeah, but it's just 6 meetings in 1 month. And so I went to their meeting. And then the next Sunday at St. Justin's, the woman in charge of starting the Carmelite order there, the lay Carmelite order, Vicky, called me in the hallway. No one had known me. I'd never even been in the church before, so no one in the church knew me except for I had talked to Vicky and said I wanted to do the Carmelite. She'd say, you missed the first meeting. So this was like after their second meeting. And so so it was their third meeting. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Vicky stopped me in the hallway and she said, if you don't, you missed 2, but if you don't miss another one, you can still, because you can have 2 absentees and still be professed as a lay Carmelite. So I said, okay. So I went to the third meeting, but she didn't know I had already gone to a 1 formation meeting. So I really only missed 1, but, because I went to one in Colts Neck. But, at any rate, I went through that and I was professed, I guess in 92. No, right a week or so after my birthday. Maybe 93, 92. I don't know, because it was, I lose track of when the time was when I was professed being a lay Carmelite. From that, I was on fire. I was going to church 7 days a week, Mass. I became a CCD instructor. I was doing the lay Carmelites thing. I was doing everything Catholic. But on the other hand, in my business, my life was going down the tubes. I was having mob guys threatening me. Issues with the state, with corruption going on because I did government contracts with cities and towns, and that's all fixed and whatever. So my life is going down the tubes, and I'm getting more religious. And finally, my life goes so much down the tubes that I have to fire sale my house, become a renter, get evicted 2 times with my family, kids, and I mean, down to nothing. I mean, when the state is after you, don't ever report corruption about the state. They sent the mafia after me, like, no lie. But at any rate, I went out of that business, and I had to get a job. So I moved a little bit further away here, and I try and keep my mouth a bit quiet about that. So, but going through all that turmoil and the internet, I started reading things. First, I was looking about the corruption and looking up statutes and things like that because I was very familiar with bidding laws. Sale bids, quote bids, what the requirements were. Um, so that, and writing letters to the Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government in New Jersey, and the OAG's office, which is the Office of the Attorney General's, even governor's office, which was Christy Whitman at the time. Went through 4 governors, fought them for 15, 20 years. So finally, a couple attempts on my life, and the third one was very serious. I couldn't take it as just a warning. And so I just stopped. I didn't owe anyone any money at that time, but didn't really have any money. I just gave everything away. But the spiritual thing was kind of still there and growing. But as I kept getting evicted and moving, trying to hold on to a job, everything was going wrong. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, God, like really, But eventually, I wound up starting a used car lot. I did it with no money. It's a long story, and I'm gonna have to wait. Sorry, my daughter. I live with my daughter now. I can't afford my own place. I just have Social Security. I'm 68 now. So, at any rate, I just didn't want her to know I was doing a live. And I'm really saying things personal life that I shouldn't really say. So, um, I gave up that business. I started a car lot with nothing, um, unemployment money, and favors. Because when I did Christmas lighting, obviously that's just Christmas time. So I did car dealers and grand openings, flags, banners, flying helium balloons. I did a lot of car dealers, Exxon. I worked for in New Jersey. Their gas stations, their flags and stuff. I had a lot, McDonald's. I did work for corporate McDonald's, and I did work for. I was very good at layout. Like I said, taking pictures, laying out Christmas decorations is the same thing. Anyway, I gave up that business and walked away, and my life just was in the gutter. Um, but I started when I was in the car business. I it's like a couple of weird things happened. First of all, in the Carmelites, when I was going to meetings, we had a woman who knew Conchita from Garabandal, mother. She was her sponsor. She called her mother, but her sponsor that brought her to the United States. And so we went to Conchita's house, and she had a family room in the back with uh, all statues. She rescues statues and relics. She collects them, and big family room, and the most statues I've ever seen in one place in my life. And We were there, and then Conchita came home. Um, and we were talking a little bit, but she wouldn't say she was Conchita. She wouldn't talk about anything. But then she said, Padre Pio had she had gotten his burial scarf from his secretary, his friend, his good friend, and she was friendly with Padre Pio. So if you don't know what Garabandal is, you can look that up. So she took the scarf and they put it over my head and she prayed because I was having a lot of financial difficulties and the mob at the time threatening me, the mafia guys. And she gave me a thread of it, which somehow now I don't have any longer. I taped it to the bottom of a statue. I don't know, it's gone with all the moving. So the interesting thing is two things. When I was in the car dealership, there was a guy who was a cop in Newark, a SWAT team cop, but he was also a friend of mine, and he made signs and did transporting on the side. Younger guy, early 30s, maybe mid 30s, and because I'm in about my 50s by then. I don't know, my late 40s or 50s, and his name is Joe Forgione. So I had a Catholic prayer page up on Facebook. I have one up now, but I had one that had like 600,000 followers, but Facebook took it away. And I even went all the way to New York to get it back to their headquarters. And they said, "Oh, yeah, you have it back in an hour." Yeah, I never got it back. It wasn't going back to New York because that's, a couple hours each way for me. Obviously, they weren't going to give me back the page, Facebook. So, Joe Forgione, on my Catholic prayer page, I noticed Forgione, that's Padre Pio's last name. But every time I seen Joe, he'd drop a car and he'd leave. So I never got to ask him. So one day I saw him out the window. I'm like, wow, I run outside. And I want to ask him if he's related to Padre Pio. And so I go out there and I run up to Joe. And I'm like, Joe, I can't even think straight. I'm like, Joe, are you related to a saint? I couldn't even think of Padre Pio's name. And he smiles, a grin comes across his face, and he says, yeah, Padre Pio. It's my mother's cousin. So that would make him Padre Pio's second cousin. And then you look at his face, and he looks a lot like Padre Pio when he was younger. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I go back inside, and I'm like, wow, whatever. So I turn on my Facebook page, and I go on my Catholic page, and I'm not even thinking the date. September 23rd. It's the feast day of Padre Pio. So not only did I meet Padre Pio's second cousin, I met him on Padre Pio's feast day, and not like a religious thing, like in work. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. Another thing where I left off with the rosary beads, when I was talking about my son had the seizure disorder, I took him to a hailing mass to another town, Howell, New Jersey. They had a priest come from Ireland. I don't remember his name, a hailing priest. And I took my son to mass there. And but I said it again, like, like, give me a sign, which I know you're not supposed to ask for. So, the rosary bead thing. And so after the mass, the healing mass, and we went up to the front, and the priest did a blessing on my son and whatnot, and we were standing off to the side in the church, and this man's on the other side of the church with some people, and he comes all the way over, and he hands me a set of rosary beads from Medjugorje. He says they're made from the coffee beans from Medjugorje area, and he hands me the rosary. He said, God tells me to give these to you. So I'm like, I guess for my son to, I'm like, wow, there's the rosary beads again. Somebody's giving me rosary beads. And that's what I asked, which was so weird. So back to the Padre Pio story. So I met Joe Forgione, Padre Pio's second cousin. And one of the statues that I bought originally when I started going to the apparitions was I bought a Virgin Mary statue, of course. I bought a Padre Pio statue, but he wasn't even a saint yet. He was just Blessed Padre Pio. But I bought his statue. So I thought, that's kind of odd. Like, you're going to call that a coincidence or not? I'm not sure. What are you doing? Looking at me? You can't eat that in the room? You're on my daughter. So, Padre Pio, second cousin Joe Forgione on feast day. So, you'll never guess what else, not in a million years. And I'm going to tell you my last name, which is so odd. Padre Pio had a secretary for 20 years, 30 years. I don't know, it was most of his life. He just died. He was a layperson. He was his secretary and friend. His name was Enzo Bertani. My name is Anthony Bertani. I thought, oh no, can't be. How is that all happening? So those are the religious things on the coming to me and these kind of supernatural things. And then there was the praying the rosary a lot. And there was these little meteors flying past me all the time, little white lights, like every time I prayed, you know. And I'm like, what is going on here? So then I'm on the computer a lot and I'm starting to have a lot of premonitions, sometimes about a person working for me, a customer. Sometimes I'll see something about a customer. I'll tell you a frightening one that happened to me. I was at a customer, another car dealer guy, and I was sitting there, and he had a secretary called Cynthia, and she was married, and there was a bunch of guys used to hang out in there. We were all talking. The old man Frank, I was a friend of mine, and as we were talking, a man walked in, an older Spanish gentleman. And Cynthia says, introduce him. This is my father-in-law. So he's standing directly across from me. So all of a sudden it pops in my head, like the visions things do. This guy killed somebody at a chicken slaughterhouse. He slit a guy's throat. That's what pops in my head. And so I see, I don't even want to go because having visions is not always a pleasant thing. So me, I don't know if I'm just going crazy or if this really happened. So the first thing I say to the man, I don't remember his name. I say, or did you work at a chicken slaughterhouse, poultry in Puerto Rico? He says, yeah, I did. I'm like, now I'm like turning beet red. Like, no way, dude. Like in my mind, So then I asked this other question. I said, did somebody get killed there? He goes, yeah, they slit his throat. I was like, that's it. Done with that. Like, there's anything else to him. Said, oh my. And then I had some experiences of a customer walking out through my door. Actually, she was a homeless person using my bathroom. There was a lot of homeless around my one car dealership. And I used to try and help them a lot. Anyway, she was walking out the door. And as she was walking out the door, I saw her holding a dead baby, a baby that had passed, in her arms. And me, as a dumbass that I am, I blurt out, did you ever hold a dead baby? Were you holding a dead baby? And she's turned to me and like a little squinted her eyes and said, who you been talking to? And I said, nobody, just, whatever. And she just came like looking out the corner of her eye and walked out the door. So obviously she did, and she didn't know how I knew that. Then, I had a woman that was on parole working for me. And I know she had gotten in trouble for in jail for drug problem or something. But she never told me what, and I never looked it up. And I'm walking by her, and I see the thing, like, problem with a gun, something with a gun with her. So I turn her, and I say, what's this with the gun thing? And she says, you looked me up, blah, blah, blah. Turns out her and her husband robbed a drug dealer. That was the drug thing with a gun, and she was in the getaway car. In other words, waited in the car, and she went to jail for the gun charge too because they're together. And she was out on parole. Her husband was still in jail because he was the one with the gun that ran in, whatever. And she was like, "How did you know that?" And that's this thing pop in my head. So how I have to confirm, and I'm giving you just a couple of examples because there's so many things that happened that I knew undeniably in my mind. I knew there's no way I could know that stuff. So now we're just going to move to, because I am already at 42 minutes, to the stuff about the future. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a screen right now, if I can remember how to do this. And this screen is my True Social page. And now I'm guessing you see this screen. So I'm going to make this really large here. Oh, I can't read it from here. I'm going to have to read it from the True Social page because I can't even read my own stuff. Okay. What happened was I started getting a lot of future events coming, 2017, 2018, 2019. And so I started talking to, I'll say his name. It was a fellow called In the Matrix with 3 X's on, he had a YouTube channel and I met him on Twitter. And we had conversation with each other. He doesn't talk with me at all anymore. And I was sending him my predictions. So I think at first he might have been a little bit impressed. And then after a while, he started thinking I was just, maybe intuitive or guessing. So this here is from June. It's actually back to June 12th, but this is copied from the DM from June 21st. And I said, sadly, another of my predictions came true, and I had put that's a Twitter link to that one. And then I wrote, that's a copy from, this is a copy, notice dating back, and enjoy, but I think you are working on something else. Trump is very smart. Maybe Iran will take the deal. Still, watch Israel. So Israel and Iran, I'm talking about. And this is in 2019. And in fact, I did make a prediction. I said Israel's going to take care of Iran, which is going to be a problem. So on June 21st, I said, okay, the voting machine thing is back in my mind. So from earlier in the month, I had sent him another DM. There's something there will be in this election. They will in this election figure the numbers. I think I wrote right what I meant to mean. They will in this election. There's something. They will in this election figures numbers right. I'm talking. I always type terrible. Then they will have it fixed for the Dems candidates. These machines must be looked at more closely after the election is too late. Okay, June 2019. Oh, I told you about the voting machines. Another copy of DM. Oops. This is me saying, I'm not looking to be out there like the amazing Kreskin or some visionary or something. So I want to stay in the background from June 12th. There's something they are counting on that has to do with the voting machines. Something not yet discovered. They should have someone really look at them. This is where their confidence is coming from winning in 2020, June 13th at 10:55 a.m. Okay, I hope you see this stuff. Upload a virus. They upload a virus on election day, changes votes. Plan to say Trump will not accept the results. That's their plan. June 13th, 2019. Now, a lot of people would say, well, everybody kind of knew something was up, but I specifically said that the voting machines are changing the votes and that they're going to say Trump is going to not accept the results and not want to leave office. So, I mean, that's just something that's right on my True Social page on the picture in the background. I mean, there are some other ones too that I did. Um, a lot of stuff had come true. So I was questioning, because I still have to question, am I like imagining this in my mind? Or is this really happening? Like, am I really having visions from God? So around that time, I had a friend, Steve, and he would come in, and I would stay at night and work on my computer a lot of times because there's a lot of was peace and quiet in my dealership, and I could, you know, work on my pages and do a lot of reading. And my friend Steve was in there one night, and I said, Steve, something's wrong. Like, I don't know. I'm having a lot of visions about stuff, and they're coming out like it's coming true. Like, I don't know if I'm crazy or what's going on here. Like, am I thinking like maybe I read it like the week before, and then I'm thinking I just thought of it. Like, am I being mistaken? So he says maybe God has something for you to do. So he left. So I thought about that a day or so. And I'm sitting at my computer one night. I'm closed. It's dark out. And I said to God, listen, God, I need to know if these visions are real. If I'm just imagining things. So if they're real, I want you to show me a meteor when I go outside and pray. Then I'm thinking, I see those little white meteors all the time. Like they look like meteors. I'm like not. I mean, like 10 feet above my head, like just like kind of poof, and then pop right. One popped like right over my head. Pop, like you could feel like a burst of energy when they pop. I mean, that's how close they were popping to me. So I said, you know what? I said, show me a red meteorite. I'd never seen a red meteorite, but I see these little white ball ones flying around me all the time, like flying past me 2 or 3 times during the rosary, you know, every time, almost every time. I don't see them anymore. Actually, I haven't seen them in a couple of years now. So, which is okay with me. It's fine. But this is back in like 2019 time frame where I'm giving this guy, I don't want to give anyone wrong information. So I go out in the car lot where the cars are, and I'm praying rosary. I'm looking up in the sky and see nothing. So I'm like, whoop, I guess it's just my imagination. Actually felt a little sigh of relief about that. I don't want to let God down and thinking like, I don't know what, I'm just like an idiot. So I go back in and I sit down. As soon as I sit behind my desk, which is actually this desk that's here, it's the only thing I have left from the car dealership, is you didn't wait long enough. So I get up and I walk to my door and I open my front door of my dealership, which is all glass windows anyway. When I open the front door, I step out, I look up in the sky, and what do you think I see? A red meteor, pretty big one, go right by. No way, I said. No way, can't be. I'm in disbelief. God answered me like that. The rosary beads between my legs, all of this stuff. So then I meet another priest online. Him I won't name because I had I gave him some prophecies, or what do you call them? Something for him, visions for him. But I think he was questioning me a bit, and I was questioning myself too. And so some of the visions, they don't make sense to me. Um, I had a vision of Hillary Clinton, an attempt on her life, or maybe getting killed, and then leap year, said leap year, and that's all. That's the vision. And if they don't protect her, because she has a lot of evidence that they need to protect her. That's what I see in the vision. So I assume that means leap year, like leap year, which the next year was leap year, which was, what's it, every 3 years or 4 years was the last leap year was coming up. Um, so I said, well, next year this is going to happen with her. And that whole year went by and nothing happened. I'm like kind of puzzled because kind of when I know a vision's a vision, I'm kind of surprised if it doesn't happen. Although I know God can change anything anyway, but I'm like wrong, right? And I'm reading, and then Jeffrey Epstein hung himself and all that stuff. And I'm reading, and the investigation name for Jeffrey Epstein is leap year. So wait a minute, that I assumed leap year meant literally the leap year, but the name of the investigation is leap year on Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't know about that. And actually, 2024 is leap year, I think. So there, I might not be wrong. And Hillary may get arrested and may be given evidence. And they may try and kill her very shortly or soon, whenever. I don't know long time frames. Done. Other things I saw, 4 missiles going over the United States. So I saw 4 and 7. So for the longest time, I didn't know what that meant. I saw visually in the vision 4 missiles going actually over my house is kind of the vision how I saw it. But then I see number 7, like 7. So I'm like, I can't understand that. So then I think I finally, and this is just me guessing what the vision means, is 4 rockets with 7 warheads each. And that would be the Russian rockets. And World War III. I guess I don't want to talk about that. So you can see I have a video up on my Rumble channel. Rumble channel. This is not wanting to work. Seriously. It won't let me put a comment in because it's showing the Facebook thing. I gotta. I can't. No, I don't know how to turn off the Facebook thing for comments to come on here. Comments. You're live. Edit. Remove. Nope, I can't do that. Okay. Just skip all of that. I can't. I did something. It wants to post them on Facebook for some reason. Can I do a private chat to myself? Chat with the studio. Huh. Banner. I'll just do it this way. Sorry. All right. I don't know what happened. And banner. Okay. I can't do it. So, all right. So, anyway, I'm just talking about a couple of things. So, lately, and it's been 4 or 5 years, well, 6 or 7 years, 5, 6 years, whatever. And I'm very concerned about my sanity to some degree. People are obviously just thinking I'm a crazy person. And so I try to show these confirmations. So on the priest, I was trying to ask him, and he said, well, maybe you're like intuitive. And he's a fairly famous priest who wrote a lot of books. He's a very high IQ person. And so I'm outside and I'm like, I don't want to give wrong information to a priest, because I gave him a vision of something that he's going to do that has an effect on the church. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to tell him the wrong thing. Like I never want to do that. So I'm outside in my yard praying and I'm asking God about the visions again. So what pops in my head is he has a question for Conchita from Garabandal. It says, go tell, the vision is, tell Father Kramer, if he has a question for Conchita, he has to ask her from Garabandal. Conchita from Garabandal. He has to ask it. So I thought, that's the stupidest message in the world. But when I get those messages from God, I feel driven to give them out. So I come back over to my computer and I open up Facebook. That's how I talk to the priest. And I private message him. I said, Father, if you have I got a vision for you. If you have a question for Conchita, you have to ask it. And I send it. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to think I'm really a crazy person now. That's like crazy message. Right? 3 minutes doesn't even go by. And bang, my computer reply from the priest. I do have a question for Conchita. Now, I don't even know if this priest believes in Garabandal. It's not approved. I don't know anything. I do. Crazier even still is I was at Conchita's house. I can get him to the guy who runs the Garabandal website he can ask his question to Conchita. And I actually did set that up for him. I never asked what the question was. There is no way I could know that he had a question for Conchita from Garabandal. And he did. And that was the answer I got from God. So the reason for me making this video is to tell you that God is really real. And he really does talk to you if you're paying attention and if you're praying, if you pay attention to things that are coincidences. They just can't be. You can't say, God, if this is real, give me a set of rosary beads, and then bang, a set of rosary beads are between your legs on the ground. Or I could see that somebody murdered somebody, or that somebody was holding a dead baby, and those are just a couple of examples. I can give hundreds, and I'm not a psychic. I don't read. I don't do that. I pray, and whatever pops in my head when God wants me to. So the other night, I've been very upset lately. I'm worried about the world, what I see, what's been shown to me, and no one's believing me, and I'm asking God again, like, because I'm getting older, like I can't remember that woman's name yet. It's still on, and she's a very good friend of mine. It's like a senior block, like a senior moment. I'm still trying to think of her name. And so I thought, maybe I'm really losing my mind and I'm just imagining this. So I go to adoration and I'm sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament and I say a rosary and I also said a Divine Mercy Chaplet. And I'm sitting there. And so this is what vision comes into my head picture. First comes Padre Pio's. And first I see him do like this, bless me. And he's trying to tell me, say the rosary, because I'm saying the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, but he's telling me to say the rosary. He's and he's doing like that. And then I just keep catching this, like the tail end of it, like this. Just doing that. Like he's pushing something away, or I don't know. He's doing like that. And so then from him, I finish the Chaplet of the Divine Mercy, and I start saying my rosary. Um, and the Blessed Mother comes into my mind. Um, and she's darker blue, not dark blue, a darker blue mantle, um, and a picture of her in my mind. And she's showing me the rosary beads between my legs. Like, you're asking for miracles all the time, and you're getting them. And most people don't get those kind of miracles, and you're still questioning everything. And so, no matter how many confirmations I get or whatever, I'm still questioning it. I'm still thinking, oh my God, I don't want to tell anybody anything crazy that's wrong. So I always use the story of Jonah, because God told Jonah to go into Nineveh and tell them God's going to destroy the city in 40 days. And Jonah goes there and he's preaching that. The king calls up, asks him, whatever. Jonah tells them, everybody puts on sackcloth and prays and fasts and repents. And God doesn't destroy the city. And Jonah's pissed off. So God can change its mind. So if people turn back to God, which is the message of Fatima, the third secret of Fatima, that people can, if everyone turned back to God, he would spare the city. But, from what I can see so far, people are not turning back to God. In fact, I have a problem. I am not going to church regularly anymore. I'm, I'm, I'm troubled. And part of it is like, I don't know what God wants me to do. Does he want me to tell people this? So since I sat on this 3 days before I made this video, which is now an hour long, I'm thinking the Blessed Mother wanted me to tell my story of all the coincidences, and that's not all of them, of the things that happened. If you want to see any of my videos, go to I'm gonna put this on Rumble. It's just Tony. I can't get my comments working. I don't know how to. I'm gonna have to shut off the Facebook thing. Remove. No, I don't want to remove that. I'll put it in the description. Rumble channel is Tony Burt 777, and YouTube, you'll find me just as my name's Tony Bertani, and we'll save changes. And then YouTube, I'll just put it in there. YouTube Tony Bertani. And that's really it. You'll find me, and as my name, that's my name. I dox myself, whatever you want to call that. Now, I just need a second, because I prayed a lot before I came on here, so I noticed a lot of these prophetic people, they're always praying all over, on the thing. Well, trust me, pray, but I pray all the time. I prayed before I came on and did the live. So always pray. I still feel like there's something I'm supposed to be telling you in this video about me that I haven't told you. But I kind of told you enough that I can't question it myself anymore. I can't say, no, it's not real. Oh, tonight I watched a movie on YouTube, free YouTube. Wait a minute, I'm going to do something. So free YouTube movies, they have ads in them, free with ads. Those movies. And so, actually, I have my channel open here. Let me just see if I can just look at my history, because I'm going to show you the movie. Ugh. What the heck? Ugh. Here it is. I'm just going to click on this movie so you see it, and then I'm going to share that screen. Just give me 1 second. I'm not going to play the movie. I'm going to show you which movie to watch, and I'm just going to tell you something about the movie, and you can look it up, or you don't have to look it up. But it actually brought kind of upset me. I'm going to say, oh, brought tears to my eyes. It upset me. Okay, so this movie, which you should be seeing, is called Contaminant Full Movie, and this is a Johnson production group. That's not the name of that movie. The real name of that movie, give me 1 second because I forgot it. But I'm going to just grab the real name of that movie in a second. If my computer would work a little bit better, would be to. Come on, hurry up. All right, Toxic Skies from 2008. So the real name of that movie is Toxic Skies from 2008. It's not Containment. And I think they did that to throw people kind of off. And I want to tell you something. I had given so the real name of the movie again is Toxic, because I just saw that it gave me a Toxic Skies. Okay. So this is really called Toxic Skies, but it's a free movie called Containment on YouTube. Okay, so I remember I told you, so if you go to my Rumble channel, the Tony Burt 777, which is in the description, if you go to that channel, you'll see some prophetic videos in there, and you'll see a lot of videos about chemtrails. You'll hear even my last video, the Cabal, which takes a bit to listen to me. Not the one that's on YouTube, because they banned the one. So I have a shorter version of it, like a 10-minute version. But I talk about the chemtrails or the delivery system for the pathogens. And I talk a lot about the strontium and barium aluminum toxicity that has the same symptoms as the virus, and how it brings your immune systems down. So I'm having, I'm losing connection. So just this movie, a lot of it, which has to do with the chemtrails and the aluminum toxicity and how they're spreading it and all of that, is in my prophecy videos from 3 years ago. But this movie's from 2008, which I had never seen before tonight, and they renamed it on YouTube. And it kind of upset me, and it brought me back to, I'm not listening to the Virgin Mary, she keeps saying. And every time I say that to you, I see the rosary beads down between my legs, and she's reminding me. And so what I'm going to do is just end this now. I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm just going to end this because this is like an hour and 11 minutes, and no one's going to listen to me. But if you watch my videos, I'm not wrong. I don't know how else to say that to you. I'm not wrong, and I'm not just making it up in my head. There's no way. Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. I'm going to say a Hail, Holy Queen also. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy toward us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary, pray for us, most Holy Mother of God. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Amen. May God bless you all abundantly. Anyone who stayed and listened to all of this, it's just my story. God bless you all. May the peace of Jesus be with you. Good night.